The summer after the 7th grade, I spent a summer in Atlanta. My uncle was home from the army. His wife, she came, and their two children. We all went to Atlanta, and then it was me and my other cousin, Charbril, I think. So we were all at my aunt's house, and we were staying in Stone Mountain, Georgia, in a 3-bedroom house, and we were all there. It was my aunt and her husband and her 2 sons, me, my 2 girl cousins, and and that was it. But anyway, so we spent that summer in Atlanta. My uncle, after that trip, he left and he went to Korea. Now, I don't know how I got wind of this, or maybe he told me, but at that time, is when you could get those suits. You can get Filas suits and Adidas suits from Korea, like in the like style that Dapper Dan would do in New York. They would be doing that in Korea. So when he left to go to Korea, he sent me, during the 8th grade school year, he sent me a fly Filas suit. It was black, and it came off at the arms and it came off at the legs as to be a short outfit, and then I could wear it as a long sleeve outfit in the wintertime. And with it, he sent me some black Reebok 5411s. And then also he sent me an Adidas suit as well. The Adidas suit was shiny, kind of satin, and it had Adidas signs all up the arm and a big Adidas sign on the back, and it had Mike Adidas. So this was around the time that, of course, Run DMC had the great song My Adidas, which had come out a year earlier. So, or maybe even the same year. This is when they had dropped their album. What was that album called? Raising Hell. And that was a really big album, I think, of that summer. Yeah, when I came home, that was a really big album. So, and so I had this great Fila suit and this great Adidas suit that I used to wear to all of the high school basketball games, and the girls used to sweat me, and like it was like a really great feeling because nobody ever had this suit, and they had never ever seen anything like this in my town before, and they all asked me where I got it, and I told everybody I got it from Atlanta, since I had spent that time in Atlanta, Georgia. Then hell, they didn't know. Atlanta was like a whole big city, as far as they knew at the time back in 1986, which it really was compared to where we came from. And they all believed me. I didn't tell them that my uncle shipped it to me from Korea, and I only paid him $30, and he paid the rest, and he sent me these 2 great suits. And so then there was that. But anyway, after the summer of the 8th grade, when I had these suits, I can remember another very big show that I attended. This was like a Fresh Fest show. Now, in this show, first of all, let me tell the story. I went to the show without even a ticket. So to my luck, not even knowing anything about scalpers, I mean, I was just willing to go and hang out and stay outside the show all day if I couldn't get in. But what happened was we were in the line, and some guys asked me, did you got a ticket? And I said, no. And it was like, hey, I got a ticket for you. I think the tickets may have been on sale for like, I don't know, $15. So they sold me the ticket for like $26 or $30. So I bought the ticket. In this show, LL Cool J was the headliner. Eric B. and Rakim performed. Stetson Sonic performed. Houdini performed. And Dougie Fresh performed. Look at that. Look at that list right there. That was a crazy show. So anyway, at this show, I had on my great Fila suit. I was fly. I was fresh. I enjoyed the show. You know, LL Cool J was crazy hot. Of course, Dougie Fresh tore the show down. Like Eric B. and Rakim had this routine where Rakim wanted to stay on stage, so I think like Eric B. had to come and pick him up and carry him off the stage and so on and so forth. This is when, at the time, when LL Cool J was doing his shark fin dance. He's like, this is his shark fin. He put his head up here and he do the shark fin dance, and so that was a really great show that I went to. And so at this time, it's like when I started getting into going to hip hop concerts. So as time moves on, we move into the fall of that same year. This is the fall of my 9th grade year. So actually, in my little town, BDP, Boogie Down Productions, had come to my town to perform at the Packard Music Hall. So they performed there, and I can remember Karis One signed a New York Giants hat that he had on, and he threw the hat in the crowd, and the guy who caught the hat was a guy named Derek Dink Trimble, and he was a very big figure like in the community. He was like 17 or 18 at the time. He caught the hat, and he had the BDP hat that was signed, and may he rest in peace. Also, he got killed as well. He also became my frat brother before that time, but he also was murdered or lost his life. So rest in peace to Dink. But he caught that hat at that Boogie Down Productions show. And then the next show I attended after that show was a UTFO and Fat Boy show in Cleveland, Ohio, at the Cleveland Convocation Center, or at Cleveland State University or something like that. Now, this show, the reason that I'm mentioning it is that because UTFO, they had a really great album out at the time. That album, Lethal Weapon, that album just from beginning to end, Master Baby, let me see, We Slave with the Mix Master, More Bass was like the first song to come on. You cold wanna be with me because I need someone to be with, someone to talk to. That was a crazy joint on the album. That whole album was just crazy. So this was the time they were performing and promoting that album, and they were performing with the Fat Boys. And I can remember a great part of that show where they sang the song of it said, "I never get a ticket. If I do one day, they'll have a hard time towing this baby away." And Dr. Ice was holding his supposedly, fake imaginary penis like a big pole, and he was, wiggling it around. They have a hard time towing this baby away. But I remember like the dance routines of UTFO, and it really, that night, it struck me. That was the night that I said, I want to be a rapper. That was the night that I said, I want to be a performer. I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And from that point on, after that show, I went home. I got home at about probably 11 or maybe 12 p.m., maybe 1 a.m., 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. And I wrote my first 2 rap songs. And that was the beginning of me wanting to be a rapper and me getting deep into, really, really deep into hip hop. Because if you really want to be a performer and you really want to be a rapper, you really have to study what you want to be in order to do what you do, as well as those who are professionally doing it, as well as to maybe even get on top of them to come out with something different that they're not doing. So this is when I really, really started to study hip hop in detail. And this is where I really, really get into albums and buying albums and taping every album that I can get my hands on, and studying the beats and studying the production and studying the funny thing about it is that I never really listened to lyrics. I just kind of knew what it was and how they were rhyming, what a real rapper was considered. Like I knew that, Eric B was, or Rakim was a great rapper. I knew that Big Daddy Kane was a great rapper. I knew that Chuck D was a great rapper. Also at that Fresh Fest show, actually Public Enemy performed too. So I saw Public Enemy, LL Cool J, Eric B and Rakim, Stetsasonic, Dougie Fresh, and Houdini all in one day. Can't get any better than that. But anyway, this is when I started. After that UTF show in Cleveland, I wrote my first 2 rap songs. I stole $25 out of my mom's purse, and I went and recorded a demo of my two songs. And that was my foray into becoming a rapper. Because you don't know me, I've never gotten signed actually, or never actually became a rapper, but I have many, many rhymes in my repertoire. I don't claim to be an MC, but anyway, I've given that dream up since. But I did want to be a rapper really, really passionately. I actually made that demo, and I did what LL did, copied all of the addresses from the record labels, and I sent about 26 demo tapes to New York. Funny thing is I put the tapes in a paper little small envelope that the tapes could fit in, addressed to the record labels, and they all got sent back to my house, or rather to the office of the Hampshire House Projects on 5th Street. They were in the office. Some guy, as I was coming home from school, he said, "Hey, you really got a lot of mail over here in this bucket. I don't know what this is, but you have a lot of mail." And they were all returned to me because I only put 1 stamp on them, which wasn't enough to send a tape from Ohio to New York. So they all got returned to me that day. And then I put more posters on them and I sent them back out. And from then, I got a flood of letters from Profile Records. Thank you for sending your tape. We're not looking for any artists at this time. From Sutra Records, who the Fat Boys, that was their label, the rejection letters. I got about 4 or 5 of those rejection letters from certain record companies. So I did that whole thing of wanting to be a rapper, sending out the demo tapes and getting the letters just as I guess, a complimentary keep your dream alive, kid, but we're really not listening to this bullshit. So I have a couple of those letters in my historical box of my rhyme box. So that was my next foray into hip hop. And we'll talk about that a little later.